Welcome back to another episode of Sound Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and today I will be reviewing A Fistful of Dollars. And just fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. A wandering gunfighter plays two rival families against each other in a town torn apart by greed, pride, and revenge. So let's begin with my first pro. Just one name, Clint Eastwood. This film gave him the fame to go from TV to movies to director. This movie started the Man with No Name series of movies under the director Sergio Leone. So this film has a lot of details and story behind it, but this is one of the things that stood out. Basically, Clint Eastwood went overseas to start his career in movies. Next pro, the soundtrack. Oh man, does it actually stand out? And that is all due to the man Ennio Morricone. He did all the music for the Man with No Name trilogy. Some of his music is world known. Even people who have not seen the films still recognize the music, and that is really amazing. The music has become synonymous with the Western genre to the point that if any movie wants to reference something to do with the Western movies from the old time, all they have to do is play some of his music in the films and everybody gets the point across. Next pro is the plot. It's a simple, yet it keeps the audience attention. With the runtime of an hour and 39 minutes, it does not drag too much and it keeps on going, and it's a great setup for Clint Eastwood's character that makes everybody cheer for him all the way till the end. Here is a small fact that this film, when released in Italy, it was getting so many bad reviews, but fans went to see it and made it a big hit, so much that when the next part of the series came out, most of the theaters had to do a double feature playing both movies back to back because everybody wanted more of Clint Eastwood's character. Next pro, the fact that there is such a big language barrier when making this film. The director spoke only Italian, Clint spoke only English, and some of the cast even spoke German. I am glad that it was filmed with no dialogue, so a silent film, because just imagine hearing three different languages being spoken at the same time and the cast not having a clue what each other was saying. But somehow it worked out in the end. It was actually dubbed into English a few years later for the US release. And you want to know another fun fact about this film? It is one of the few films that has been dubbed into the Navajo language. Come on, how many films can actually flex by saying that? Not many. And now on to my cons. The fact that they had to dub the audio in later makes it a bit weird when researching this film and finding out things that happen behind the scenes. Since names were changed or even the visuals of the cast talking is sometimes off-putting due to the dubbing actually not being the original voice that we are hearing. Well, in English, the only one whose real voice we hear is Clint, but we also have him dubbing his own lines after the fact that the film was filmed. So imagine if they would have recorded the audio during the actual filming of the movie. It would have been nice to hear the actual lines being spoken or said during the film, because I mean, I don't know, but I still feel kind of weird watching Clint dub his own lines. That kind of bugs me. Next con, the way they picked scenes to show blood and then others that didn't show any. Okay, I am aware that at that time bloody scenes of violence was a no-no in Italian movies, but come on, you have a closing scene with Ramon spitting up blood, but then when Clint's character goes to the river and witnesses the killing of the army, we see soldiers getting shot and they're dying, but we don't see any blood. That is really kind of weird if you actually think about it, especially when they're getting gunned down by a Gatling gun, and yet there's no blood. Next con, remember how I said the story was simple? Well, what I didn't tell you was that this was actually a copy of Yojimbo from 1961 by director Akira Kurosawa. Same plot, same idea, but in Yojimbo, it's sword versus revolver, while in this film, it's a rifle versus a revolver. So Akira actually sued Sergio when this film was released, and that is why the US release was kind of delayed due to the legal issues. In the end, Akira got 15% of the worldwide gross sales and the distribution rights for Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. Akira also made it a point to call it the return of Yojimbo in Japan, just to rub it in Sergio's face. The funny thing is that he made more money off the settlement of this film than his original Yojimbo movie ever made. I mean, it's funny because if you think about it, Yojimbo is based off a novel, and even Akira said it was a Western story reimagined into a samurai movie. But then Sergio made a spaghetti Western based off the Yojimbo, which is a Western movie reskinned as a samurai movie. So even back then, they kept recycling ideas. I mean, getting inspiration from older ideas. So my final grade for this movie is going to be an 8 out of 10. This movie has so much historical value behind it. First, it's what made Clint Eastwood go from TV series into movies and eventually make his own movie studio. Also, just the idea that this movie is well known nowadays, but during the time, Script was so bad. For example, they had no idea what wardrobe to use. They had no idea of staging, all the way to the point where actually Clint had to tell them, don't do this, do that instead. It boggles the mind that this film became what it is. But still, this along with the rest of the Man with No Name movies are so epic, and it has to do with the soundtrack, the acting, and a little bit of the directing. And to think that the director took that idea from another movie across the ocean. So that does it for this review of A Fistful of Dollars. Please join us next time where we're going to review Tarantula.
I knew it would happen. Give women the vote and what do you get? Lady science.
Well, students so far.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.